Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents Loving an Adult Child of an Alcoholic by Douglas Bey, M.D., and Deborah Bey, R.N. Narrated by Mike Chamberlain. Introduction. Win the heart of an ACOA, laissez le bon temps rouler. Anonymous. We have worked with adult children of alcoholics, ACOAs, and their significant others throughout our professional careers. Together, we have over 70 years of clinical experience working directly with these patients. Deborah Bey is an adult child. She read the ACOA literature and went through the therapy prior to meeting and marrying Dr. Bey. She trained at Barnes Hospital in St. Louis and was the head nurse on a hospital chemical dependency unit for a number of years. She later worked in a multidisciplinary private psychiatric group practice with Dr. Bey, where she counseled adult children on an individual and group basis. Several members of Dr. Bey's family suffer from affective illness. He trained at the Menninger Clinic, then served in the Army for 2 years before starting his private, multidisciplinary practice of psychiatry. He has worked with many adult children and their partners over the years. Dr. Bey is a Distinguished Life Fellow of the American Psychiatric Association, has served as a board examiner for the American Board of Neurology and Psychiatry for many years, and was past president of his county medical society, his hospital medical staff, and his county board of health. He's published a number of scientific papers, as well as Wizard 6, the recently released memoir of his year as division psychiatrist in Vietnam. Throughout our years of counseling adult children, we have recommended that ACOAs, and those who are in relationships with them, read the ACOA literature to help them learn the patterns of behavior they developed to survive as children in an alcoholic home, and to understand how these patterns affect their adult relationships. The book we have most frequently suggested is Claudia Black's It Will Never Happen to Me. However, it was frequently the spouse or non-ACOA who brought the couple in for treatment because he or she was unable to understand the adult child's seemingly irrational behavior in the relationship. Nearly 20% of the population of the United States has an alcoholic parent, and most of these individuals are involved in some sort of a relationship. As a result, we attempted to find a book to offer to persons who were in a relationship with an adult child but were unsuccessful. We contacted Claudia Black for a recommendation, and she said that she wasn't aware of a good book devoted to this topic and suggested that we write one. This was the conception of Loving an Adult Child of an Alcoholic. We recommend Claudia Black's books to ACOAs because readers report that they see themselves in the examples she presents. For this reason, many disguised examples of couples' experiences are included in Loving an Adult Child of an Alcoholic. Hopefully, readers will see themselves and their relationships in our book. We anticipate that in many cases, our book will be purchased by an adult child who is now seeking a stable, loving, committed relationship. It is likely that your partner gave this book to you as a guide to better understand her or him, and an aid to help you both develop the deep, loving, committed relationship that both of you are seeking. It is now well known that the patterns of behavior described by adult children of alcoholics apply to many other non-chemically dependent family situations as well. Children in families with mental illness, physical disabilities, abuse, parental death, compulsive behaviors by the parents, divorce, and very large families may develop similar patterns of behavior to survive their childhood situations. It is possible that the non-adult child reading this book will identify with some of the ACOA patterns. Loving an adult child of an alcoholic may have an even wider application in the realm of the human psyche. The basic premise of the book is that patterns of behavior that were developed during childhood carry over into adult life. Recognizing these patterns and changing the ones that cause problems in adult relationships is helpful regardless of the background of the individuals involved. Couples who explore their childhood patterns and their effect on their adult lives will enjoy a deeper relationship than many partnerships experience. The message of loving an adult child of an alcoholic is positive. We have a great relationship in our marriage, and most of our ACOA patients over the years have had happy marriages. As a group, ACOAs are a wonderful group of people, and we have always enjoyed working with them in our practice. They are survivors who are usually sensitive to the feelings of others, loyal, humble, and hard-working. They are hard on themselves, but nice to everyone else. Most, prior to learning about ACOA patterns, have been through some bad relationships and are eager to have and appreciate a good one. Our approach is not the only way to help your adult child change patterns, nor is it the only route to a good relationship. We know of individuals who have overcome their childhood trauma without help from anyone, and who seem to be capable of having a good relationship. We have seen couples who have both had difficult childhood experiences who have helped each other without any apparent outside assistance. Our religious faith has been important to us as individuals and as a couple. We have seen others who have benefited similarly from their involvement with religion, and also some who appear to be doing well without any religious affiliation. Loving an adult child is a compendium of ideas that have worked in our own relationship and that have been helpful to many of the couples we have worked with over the years. We hope that some of them will be of help to you. All of us have patterns of behavior we developed in childhood, and we unconsciously carry them over into our adult lives and relationships. To change those that get in the way of our happiness and cause problems in our relationships, we have to first want to change. Then we can attempt to figure out these behavioral patterns and their childhood roots. Armed with insight into our adult patterns of behavior, we can catch ourselves after we repeat the behavior. With time, we may be able to catch ourselves at the time we are doing it. And finally, we may be able to anticipate how we would have reacted in the past, and instead make a conscious choice to act differently. When we make ourselves behave other than the way we were accustomed to act, we are changing our identity. We may be uncomfortable with the change at first. It may be helpful to imitate persons who have traits we wish to adopt, and then, in time, become comfortable with our new identity. This process applies to all of us, regardless of our childhood experiences. It is a process that takes considerable time and motivation to execute. We believe that any couple can take this approach and apply it to their relationship with positive results. If both persons are willing to look at themselves and attempt to change those childhood patterns that are causing difficulties in their adult relationships, they eventually will be able to do so. Discussing the childhood roots of adult problems with one another will lead to a richer relationship. Unfortunately, many couples who seek marriage counseling come with a DNR, do not resuscitate sign on their relationship. They have already decided to break their commitment to one another and are looking for someone to confirm their marriage is hopeless. Others come because their divorce lawyer told them it would look good if they sought help. Some want to show their friends and families they tried everything before giving up on the marriage. Many second marriages fail because couples repeat the same mistakes they made in the first marriage. They continue to think their problems and the solutions to those problems are external to themselves. As a result, they don't change. Alcoholics Anonymous's definition of insanity is continuing to do the same behavior and anticipating different results. If your partner gave you this book, he or she is not making that mistake. Your companion has concluded that unconsciously, she or he has been seeking partners who fit the roller coaster, off and on type of relationships your companion had with her or his alcoholic parent as a child. Your partner realizes that her or his relationship problems have not been due to fate, but rather this unconscious repetition compulsion that has recreated her or his childhood situation. As they say in Alcoholics Anonymous, if I am not the problem, there is no solution. Your partner cares enough about you to make her or himself vulnerable by sharing past experiences and exposing the patterns of behavior she or he is repeating in adult life. Hopefully, you will honor the trust that is being placed in you and will be equally open and introspective in return. If you are, you have an opportunity to develop a wonderful relationship. We believe that you, as a couple, without knowing you personally, stand a good chance of having a better relationship than most couples enjoy. We say this because your adult child has insight into his or herself and is motivated to change. You are both committed to paying attention to your relationship and working on it. Your partner is reflecting on his or her childhood experiences and how the defensive patterns developed to survive in the alcoholic home are now affecting his or her adult behavior. Your partner chose to confide in you because you appear to be a stable, caring person who is dependable and who seems to want a lasting relationship. Your partner's introspection will cause you to think of your own childhood and how it may affect your adult reactions. You will both consider the type of relationship you want to have, and then think about the steps that need to be taken to achieve it. As you discuss the roots of your adult behavior together, you will find that you are forming a more intimate relationship than most couples enjoy. The psychological tools you will be developing can be utilized to solve nearly all difficulties that arise between you in the future. We have been there, and we can attest to the fact that understanding each other's past experiences and their influence on the present relationship has made us more tolerant of each other. Recalling our own childhood experiences, the defenses we developed to cope with these events, and determining how these patterns have affected our adult relationships have helped us change ourselves for the better. By supporting each other in our efforts to improve ourselves, we were able to create the type of partnership we both wanted. This ongoing process leads to an interesting and wonderful marriage. It is a lifelong process that continues to be intriguing. We are still discovering things about each other, and our relationship deepens with time. This book is our attempt to share what we have learned about this process from our patients, the literature, and from each other. We hope that this information will facilitate your understanding of your adult child and assist the two of you in your efforts to create a wonderful relationship. 1. You aren't reading this by accident. It took a huge leap of faith for your partner to expose his or her childhood patterns of behavior to you, a risk-taking out of care for you and your relationship. As a child in an alcoholic family, your partner was taught to cover up the family secret and suppress all feelings. Thus, when asked as an adult how she or he is doing, your partner will likely answer, fine, no matter what is really going on. Distrust, fear of abandonment, and sensitivity to criticism are all major issues for your adult child. By the time you met your adult child, he or she was probably already in the process of changing childhood patterns. Adult children of alcoholics have learned that their feelings and actions are not governed by outside events, but by attitudes and thoughts from childhood. From reading the ACOA literature, introspection, and possibly counseling, your partner may have determined that previous relationship difficulties were not caused by fate. Instead, an unconscious attraction to the off-and-on type of relationship experienced with an alcoholic parent had been responsible for previous unhappy choices. The key attributes that your partner has are motivation and willingness to change, a realization that his or her adult difficulties are due to internal rather than external factors, and a love for you that enables him or her to overcome that fear of being abandoned and hurt. Robin Norwood, in her book Women Who Love Too Much, notes that the Greeks described two types of love. The first is eros, which is a passionate, obsessive, all-consuming love. The second is agape, which is love in a partnership of two caring people who are deeply committed. Your ACOA has decided that the excitement, drama, mystery, and yearning that go with the first type of love were, in fact, an unconscious attraction to the off-and-on relationship she or he experienced as a child with the addicted parent. The agape form of love is unknown to your partner, as, prior to developing insight, this type of relationship seemed to be rigid, lifeless, and boring. Your adult child has made a conscious effort to find an individual who is capable of devotion, understanding, companionship, and mutual support. That is how you got into the picture. What behaviors do you recognize? Briefly, here are a few of the common patterns of behavior that are associated with ACOA. You may recognize your partner's behavior in some, if not all, of the examples. ACOAs tend to underestimate their attractiveness and abilities. These adequate-appearing individuals have some childlike qualities that are also appealing. Because there was a dearth of adult role models available while growing up, ACOAs now act the way they think adults act while inwardly retaining childish traits. As they say in the ACOA groups, we may not have had the happiest childhoods, but we certainly have had the longest. Adult children seem to be ideal companions, people who are intensely passionate, powerfully attracted to their partner, sensitive to their partner's feelings, and eager to please. However, at about the time in a relationship when a partner begins to think things are really on the right track, the adult child may suddenly blow up and accuse his or her partner of being selfish, unfaithful, or of wanting to get out of the relationship. At this point, adult children may say they do not want to see their partner again, but then might be upset that the partner doesn't call. This pattern of behavior will be repeated in a relationship. When life is stressful, adult children appear calm and in control. Strangely, when things seem to be calm, adult children will likely become tense. Adult children have a hard time trusting their partner 100%. ACOAs sometimes misconstrue what their partner says to them. If their companion keeps them waiting or appears to slightly ignore them, adult children may react with anger. Some ACOAs wait until the last moment to do things and then act as if it is a crisis. A financial crisis may result from impulsive overspending. Adult children tend to tell their partner what they think that individual wants to hear rather than the true story. Adult children may view minor setbacks as major catastrophes. ACOAs assume negative outcomes, including in their relationships. Adult children control their feelings and do not expose their thoughts. Adult children feel the need to control those around them. They feel anxious when they are not in the driver's seat, for example, when flying in an airplane. Games, playful activities, and spontaneity are difficult and may be avoided. ACOAs seem to remain on the periphery of social events. ACOAs have difficulty setting boundaries. It is difficult for them to say no to demands from others, and equally difficult for them to ask for help when they need it. Altruism is carried to the point of burnout. Adult children have a tendency to become compulsive about shopping, drinking, gambling, and other addictive behaviors. Insecure in the role of a parent, ACOAs hope to correct the deficiencies of their own childhood. They tend to be black and white thinkers and are frequently too lenient or too rigid when dealing with their children. Adult children may not remember much about their childhood, but will reveal that they had an alcoholic parent. Common childhood experiences. Later, you will learn from your partner that during childhood, she or he experienced psychological and possibly physical abuse. Your partner was pressured to deny the reality of the home situation and, as a result, came to doubt his or her perceptions. Your ACOA's parents gave confusing answers that contradicted his or her own observations. For example, your partner may have heard, "I'm not an alcoholic," from her or his obviously intoxicated father, or "Daddy's fine," when he's passed out in a puddle of vomit on the living room floor, or "We're happy," when the parents have been fighting since the previous evening. Alice said that her inebriated father would run stop signs. She remembered saying, "Daddy, you didn't stop at that stop sign," and her father would reply, "I'll stop twice tomorrow." Adult children may have had unrealistic expectations placed on them when they were young, by themselves as well as others, reinforcing their already low self-esteem. For example, some adult children were not permitted to play, to show emotions, or to express their thoughts. They may have been told, "You want to cry? I will give you something to cry about." To keep the peace, adult children tried unsuccessfully to control their emotions, their thoughts, and their parents' irrational behaviors. Perfectionism may have represented an early attempt to offset the parental criticism they received, and, in a magical way, to stop their parent from drinking. Some children may have substituted water for vodka in the liquor bottle, or let the air out of the parents' car tires to keep their parent from driving and getting into an accident. Inwardly, they may have felt like failures when these attempts didn't get a parent to stop drinking. In addition, these children experienced contorted or reversed parent-child relationships. Instead of playing with other kids, they may have been cooking meals, cleaning the house, looking after younger siblings, or caring for their intoxicated or hungover parent. Because of the constant crisis in the family, adult children felt frustrated and anxious throughout childhood. Meal times could be tense, with the family wondering if the alcoholic would show up, and if so, in what condition. In the same way, holidays, special occasions, and school activities were dreaded. The worst-case scenarios were anticipated and often realized. These children also learned not to trust because they were frequently lied to and disappointed by their parents. Parental statements such as, "I will be at your game Friday," "Of course we are coming to your recital," or "I will pick you up after school," were proven to be unreliable. Consequently, they learned to be fearful of the outside world and to distrust authorities and institutions as well. As kids, adult children felt that had they been lovable and worthy, their needs might have been met. These experiences all took a toll on their self-esteem and self-confidence. Nearly 1 out of 5, 18% persons in the United States has an alcoholic parent, so there is no reason to feel like the Lone Ranger. ACOAs aren't handicapped. Sometimes the traits adult children developed to cope with childhood trauma even led to fame and fortune in adult life. Presidents Reagan and Clinton, Winston Churchill, Chuck Norris, Rod Steiger, and Suzanne Summers, to mention a few. Of course, being famous does not mean you did not suffer. When a Nobel Prize laureate was told, "You must be very happy to receive such a prestigious award," he answered, "If I was truly happy, I would not have sought this award." Rod Steiger was asked, "If you had the choice of having the childhood you experienced with your alcoholic mother and being the famous actor you are today, or having a loving, secure childhood and not being famous, which would you take?" Mr. Steiger replied, "A loving, secure childhood in a New York minute." The process of loving an ACOA is frequently emotionally explosive. The non-ACOA can facilitate the development of the partnership by understanding the genesis of the loved one's patterns, how these behaviors are likely to affect the relationship, and what he or she, the non-ACOA, can do to respond in a positive way. There are emotional bombs going off for the adult child, and just as the word bomb can mean either a scary, explosive device or something great, these emotional bombs characterize the nature of your relationship, scary and great. We have been through the process ourselves. Dr. Bey has worked with many adult children and their significant others in his private psychiatric practice over the past 35 years. Deborah Bey, RN, is an ACOA who went through a program of recovery and later worked as the head nurse on a chemical dependency unit, and for the past 14 years, Deborah has been Dr. Bey's office nurse. We have a deep relationship and a happy marriage, one that has lasted 17 years and counting. Deborah has counseled many adult children and their partners, and we both have seen the difficulties the non-ACOAs have had understanding the behavioral patterns their loved ones exhibit and the stress that this misunderstanding has on their relationships. We have attempted to instruct the non-ACOAs about the ACOA patterns and provide advice as to how they should best respond to help reduce difficulties in their relationships. Similarities and differences among adult children. Adult children are not all cut from the same mold, but they do have common patterns of behavior. There are generally 4 roles that children in alcoholic homes tend to assume. The responsible child, or the hero, is usually the oldest. He or she grows up assuming the responsibility the parents shirk. This child brings his or her parents home from bars, looks after the younger siblings, takes over many household chores, nurses the parents when they are ill, and misses having a childhood him or herself. This child tries to solve the family's problems, ignoring his or her own needs, while seeking to make up for their parents' and their family's shortcomings. The hero sees his or her mission as bringing honor to the family, or dying in the effort to do so. As the ancient Greek mothers used to tell their warrior sons, "Come back with your shield or on it." These children usually become highly successful and hard-working adults who are serious and have difficulty playing. Even when successful, they feel inadequate and guilty. The adult heroes do good works out of compulsion and frequently are the victims of burnout later in life. They are caretakers who may run themselves into the ground physically and mentally by compulsively looking after others. The acting out child, or the scapegoat, gets into trouble, taking the family's focus off the addicted parent and the problems within the family. This child is aware of her or his anger and expresses it directly in rebellious, anti-authoritarian behavior. The scapegoat is at risk for accidental injury and difficulties with the law. As adults, these individuals are in touch with their feelings, but frequently have problems adjusting to society. They tend to be self-destructive, are sometimes abusive to others, and are at risk for chemical dependency. The adjuster, or lost child, goes along with the program and withdraws to his or her room. This child is quiet and is often overlooked by teachers and by the family. As adults, the adjusters do not feel they have any control over their lives. They tend to be shy, withdrawn, and passive in relationships. They feel lonely, but tend to remain isolated, sometimes turning to material things, food, or even alcohol to try to offset their emotional void. The placator, or mascot, tries to please everyone else and keep them happy. This child is hyperactive, always the center of attention. Unfortunately, in some instances, this behavior results in the prescription of Ritalin, which does nothing for overactive behavior that is based on a family role rather than a physiologic abnormality. Treatment by drugs may predispose the child to chemical dependency in later life. As adults, placators are sensitive to the feelings of others, assuming the caregiver role, though they are sometimes too tolerant of other people's behavior and end up in masochistic relationships. Sometimes they are the center of attention through invalidism and preoccupation with physical complaints. Their clowning and performance keep their true thoughts and feelings hidden, and they maintain an emotional distance from others. Mascots divert the family's attention from the real problem. Individual children may take on a blend of these 4 roles. A person can have more than one problem. This would seem to be an innately obvious statement, and yet people seem to forget it in their efforts to lump all difficulties under one label. For example, a depressed patient goes to an internist who discovers the patient is
Sample complete. Ready to continue?